NFL free agency officially opens tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you're a Texans fan or you enjoy Texans content, what should you be looking for? I'm going to break into that. This is when all those crazy notifications and the crazy game breaking news comes out from the NFL. Let's get straight into that. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're a Texans fan or you enjoy content, I've been pushing out content daily. Also, go check out my last video I did. It was creating a draft board for the Houston Texans for that 25th overall pick. But now that that's out of the way, let's get straight into this video. Again, we are going to be talking about free agency. I've put together another little graphic here. And I know I said free agency, and I know that's what this video is about, but we have to talk about DK Metcalf. I have to get my 2 cents in on DK Metcalf. Look, his current cap hit for the Seattle Seahawks is $31.8 million, and the Seahawks had the audacity to ask for a first-round pick and a third-round pick and for a team to pick up this contract. Absolutely ridiculous and shameful, especially since then they traded away Geno Smith for a third-round pick. Absolutely insane. Now, the reason why I do bring up Metcalf a little more is because reports were that he actually wanted to come to Houston before the Christian Kirk news came out. He enjoyed the warmer weather, wanted to play for a contender. Houston made the most sense. And that kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. I really would have liked to see DK in a Texans uniform, but one first round pick and a third round pick is absolutely outrageous. Seattle should be ashamed of themselves. Their offense is gone besides JSN. I'm out on DK Metcalf. Now let's switch over to Stephon Diggs. I've kind of been out on Stephon Diggs for a while now, obviously coming off of that knee injury. He was great for the Texans when he was healthy, but you took a gamble on the 31-year-old. It didn't really work out. Look, the Texans were interested in bringing Stephon Diggs back. They said and were reported to have made a team-friendly deal for Stephon Diggs. Remember, he made $22.5 million last year, or will make because it's spread out. No, he made that and it's spread out against the cap, sorry. But the Texans offered him a team-friendly deal, which basically means they just offered him a cheap deal. And he's not likely to take that, and the Texans aren't likely to increase their offer, which is why he is actually reported to be unlikely to be back with the Houston Texans. So basically, what you can glean is they're out on Metcalf, even though Metcalf wanted it, and there's a mutual kind of, we're not doing it with Diggs. Ultimately, I think this is the right decision. I liked Diggs, but you don't know what you're going to get with his age and his injury, and just, yeah, overall, that's fine. That's not a free agent receiver that we need to sign. But now let's talk about some free agent receivers that we do and might need to sign. And look, what I can glean and tell you right now is the Christian Kirk signing was a very good decision. It was a very good decision to trade for him, not let him hit free agency. Yes, I know he's scheduled, I think, like $16 million. The Texans will work that out. He's not making $16 million. It's going to go down from there. But it got me thinking about other free agent wide receivers. Now, starting from the left, we have Tyler Lockett, who's been with the Seattle Seahawks for like 10 years. Obviously, teammates with DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett really offers you another slot presence that might be overridden now with the Christian Kirk signing, but at the end of the day, you can never have enough bodies at that wide receiver position. The Texans are in desperate need of bodies. Don't let the Christian Kirk signing fool you. They need someone. Now, the price is something that's a little questionable when it comes to Tyler Lockett. He's obviously aging. I think he's like 32 or something like that. So he's not the youngest receiver ever. Let me try to find his age. He's 32. Yeah, he's 32. So I don't know if the Texans are really willing to commit that much money, and that's fine because there are cheaper options, starting with Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson, who is slated to make $4 million. Sorry, these numbers are wrong, guys. Let me fix this real quick. This should be over here, and this should be over here. Demarcus Robinson, another older receiver on the Rams, obviously has that relationship with Nick Caley, so Nick Caley can glean in and give you some information on him. He's a little older as well, 30 years old, has had some injury history, but just another kind of solid receiver you can add to the room. And then finally, we'll end with Darius Slayton from the Giants. $6 million was his last contract. He's 28, maybe a good wide receiver 3 piece along with Christian Kirk. None of these guys would be your solidified wide receiver 2. I think Christian Kirk has a much better chance of being that. And I don't want to overpay for these guys, but the moral of the story is don't be afraid to go sign more wide receivers because you need them. You need a lot more of them for sure. Moving on, let's switch kind of position groups, and let's talk about tight ends. Now, look, I'm out on Evan Ingram, and before I get into why, let's just talk about the tight end position itself. The Texans have mistakenly spent a lot of money on the tight end position with Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is not performing well. He is not great. Cade Stover needs to develop, but I like him. Brevin Jordan's coming off a season ending injury. You don't really know what you're going to get out of Brevin Jordan, and I like Brevin Jordan, but all that being said, all that said to say that there is real need for tight ends and the tight end position to be bolstered. Unless Dalton Schultz can somehow turn back the clock or Cade Stover has a massive improvement, the tight end position group was a liability. Also, none of these guys can block. Like Dalton Schultz doesn't even try; he can't block. Cade Stover tries, but he can't block. Brevin Jordan was your best blocker. You didn't have him really at all last year, so that being said, I'm out on these big tight ends, but the reason why I mentioned the position group is because don't be shocked if Nick Caserio decides to help out his tight end position group in free agency. By no means is it the most pressing need, and there are some great tight ends in this draft, but that's why I'm kind of out, for those reasons on these big tight ends. Also, we're not playing Madden. I don't know if the Jets let Tyler Conklin walk. The Jags, obviously, for whatever reason, have let Evan Ingram walk, but that's another conversation in it of itself. But moving on kind of with the tight end discussion, we can talk about Mo Alley Cox and Austin Hooper. And I know what you're thinking. Why are we talking about Austin Hooper right now, the New England Patriots tight end, obviously behind Hunter Henry? And that's because, look, I watched Austin Hooper. I'm not going to lie. I watched him play a little bit this year. He had a very limited role in their limited offense, but he could block and he could catch balls. And sometimes he was the main tight end target over Hunter Henry. So, like, there might be something there. I mean, if you can get him for peanuts, if you can sign him for $4 million and just add him to the tight end room, there's something there to be said about that. Now, I understand we're not playing Madden, but I don't know. I feel like you could definitely bolster the tight end room. Like, that wouldn't be the craziest thing for the Texans to do. Mo Alley Cox is a different conversation. He's a lot better than Austin Hooper. Really good value, only, $6 million last year. I don't think there's any way the Colts, let him walk. I think he does get re-signed, but he was a solid player as well. He's in the division. I mean, the point really being that you can focus the tight end group in this free agency. That's definitely on the table. But now let's talk about a different position group. Let's switch over to the defense. Let's talk about Jonathan Allen. And this might be controversial. Now, the Texans are interested in Jonathan Allen. He is probably the best defensive tackle in free agency right now, and he's definitely the most expensive at around $22.5 million for a defensive tackle. Look, Jonathan Allen's going to be expensive. The reason why I bring him up is because the Texans are interested in Jonathan Allen. They are interested. Now, I have very controversial thoughts on the defensive tackle position. I think the Texans have a history of taking not great defensive tackles and turning them into great ones. Look at Tim Settle. You got him for a bargain. His contract is $6 million for 2 years. So he's got, a year and $3 million left in the 2025 season. He was really nothing before that. So my whole, Tommy Togiai was on the practice squad. He got some significant reps. So my whole philosophy with the Texans and defensive tackles is, look, man, they can take, underperforming defensive tackles and turn them into good rotational pieces and starters. Look at Foley and Mario Edwards as well. Now, I also understand kind of the opposite viewpoint of that, and that being, look, you have an insane defensive line. Why not just capitalize and get the best defensive tackle in free agency? Like, I understand why that's appealing, just having absolute monsters on the D line. My thing is the price. I don't know that, and I was honestly surprised that the Texans were even engaged in the conversation with Jonathan Allen because of the price, but they are. I think it goes back to D'Amico really wanting the soul of his team and the soul especially of his defense to be that front D line. I understand that. I'm just worried that if they make a big splash and they go sign Jonathan Allen, I'm just worried that they're going to neglect the offense even more than they have. So for that reason, I'm out on Jonathan Allen. But let's not completely go away from the defensive tackle room. What about two former Texans D tackles, Malik Collins, who just got cut, and Sheldon Rankins on the right, who just got cut from the Bengals? Look, Malik Collins, you traded him to the 49ers last year. You got a pick out of it, and he's been cut. So good on Caserio. The main appeal with these guys, obviously, being they have played with the Texans. Both of them played with the Texans last year. Both of them, were key components of your defensive tackle room last year. Um, on one hand, you kind of got out of it at the right time. The fact that they've both been cut by their teams. On the other hand, maybe if you do want to bolster that D tackle room, you know who these guys are. You know kind of what they have left in the tank. I mean, they were on your team like less than a year ago, so definitely not afraid to kick the tires on these two guys. The price is also another thing. I mean, you could get Sheldon Rankins for almost half of Jonathan Allen. Malik Collins is even cheaper, and that's what I mean. Like, take these guys at their lower salaries and turn them into something greater. That's kind of my philosophy on the D tackle position group. Like, let's not try to spend too much on these guys, but there are definitely some options you can look at in free agency. Malik Collins has this weird thing going on where since he was cut, he's not really eligible to be a free agent until Wednesday, so you have to wait on him. But just some more food for thought on the D tackle room. And then finally, the catch-all. Look, I'm not going to break down, various O linemen. You can see kind of on the graphic the names. These are just free agent linemen. Look, the issue right now with the Houston Texans is you are so handcuffed at the draft. Like, you do not have a right guard. You have four offensive linemen right now that are starting for you, and two of them are kind of question marks, and Titus Howard at left guard and Jarrett Patterson and Drew Scruggs at center. If you want to tell me Drew Scruggs is your future center, I mean that's all you. I want no part in that. I think the Houston Texans, I think they have to sign a free agent lineman. It doesn't have to be Cam Robinson and break the bank. It doesn't have to be a well-known name. But if you're the Houston Texans, you have to sign an offensive lineman in this upcoming free agent class. Look at George Fant down there. Now, I know he's a tackle and doesn't really help the guard position, but George Fant set to be a free agent. He was injured a lot of last year. I mean, there's some names there if you want to go dive into it. The prices aren't terrible. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed, a cheaper dude just to have him in the room, just to use him as a body, because man, you are so handcuffed right now. Like, if you walked into the draft right now, every team would know that you need a lineman, and that would be in the back of their mind. So that's kind of the reason why I think they should look at offensive linemen in the this upcoming free agency. But that's really all I got for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Are there any position groups, any players you want to see the Houston Texans sign? I definitely think this isn't going to be as big of a free agency for the Houston Texans. There's not going to be as many big splashes as there were last year, but definitely still some moves that could be made. But yeah, aside from that, just stay tuned with the channel. Got some more content coming, and I will see y'all in the next one, man. Peace out.